Well, good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and thanks very much for the invitation to come and talk to you. It's actually the first time I've ever done something like this, so we're all in it together.
Anything could happen.
Yeah, anything could happen, yes, absolutely. When Mary asked me to come and do this talk, I thought, well, that's going to be a very long 5 minutes for everybody. But then people kept kind of reminding me of things that I've done, so let's see what happens. What I'm going to do is I'm going to talk a bit about kind of why I'm a bit obsessed about music. And then I'm going to talk a bit about how I started playing in bands. And then I'm just going to give you some information about some of these. So how did I become obsessed with music? Well, I was very lucky to grow up in a musical family. Both my parents could play piano. We had a piano in the house. And there just seemed to be music in the house all the time. And it was nothing serious. It was, if it was classical, it was kind of like a trout quintet. Generally speaking, it was a Sound of Music soundtrack. I know every word and every harmony. And, but parents were really encouraging about music. I can remember as being a small child, my mum would plonk me on the piano stool to just bash around on the piano keys. But I also remember just kind of discovering that two notes together sounded better than just one. And if I put three notes together, then that sounded really good, you know. And so I kind of developed the idea that there was and the great thing about piano actually is that it is linear, you know, the deep notes are down there and the high notes are up here. And it's kind of linear, which is great. It's nothing like guitars, which can be a bit confusing at the time. And then we started seeing music on television, things like the Beatles and the Troggs. And Freddie and the Dreamers, do you remember Freddie and the Dreamers? And Jerry and the Pacemakers. And it seemed really exciting. And I kept thinking, that's something that you can do for a living. I didn't realise how hard it was to do that for a living. But yeah, so I kind of got excited about popular music. And I pestered my mum's life out to buy Downtown by Petunia Clark, which was my first ever single, which I think was 1963 or 64. I was about 7. So I was determined to want music by the time I was about 7 years old. And then a bit later on, my parents were churchgoers and went to Holy Trinity in Ossick, a magnificent church, which I'm sure some of you know. And me and my brother joined the choir there, and we were exposed to this amazing church music, which was just astounding. And in the church choir, we were lucky to have a really good chorister, a chap called John North, who was a brilliant organist, and he was obsessed by Bach. He would do concerts of just with Bach music, and one of the things that we sung in the choir was this. I can remember how to play it. And we sung all the kind of hymns and stuff like that in church services. And the other good thing about it was that we were booked to sing at weddings a lot. And you made 75 pence, I think, I seem to remember, for every wedding. And sometimes we could do 3 weddings on a Saturday. It was very great. So you could earn music from money. As I say, my parents were really kind of encouraging about music, and my sister, I've got an older sister, she started to learn the cello. By fair means or foul, I still have her cello. And my brother, who is older than me as well, he learned the viola. Never know what happened to that viola, certainly not in my collection anyway. And unfortunately, I wasn't a very kind of well child. I was born with a hole in my heart, and it kind of made me a bit of a sickly child when I was quite young. The operation to repair that was done when I was 5 years old, and but it kind of slowed me down in my development as a small child. But when I was about 11-ish, my parents sent me for piano lessons to the same piano tutor that my sister went to. My sister learned piano as well as the cello. And this piano teacher, bless her, Mrs. Davidson, desperately tried to teach me how to read music and how to play piano like a classical person would read, and I wasn't interested. And I learned everything by ear, by listening to it, listening to her playing to me playing it, mimicking what she did. And things came to a head when she sent me home to learn a very simple piece, which is a bit like fairground music, the kind of thing that you'd hear at a fairground. And this piece was in A-B-A format, which there was one theme, and then there was a middle section, and then there was it returned back to the first theme again, A-B-A. So I went home to practice that, and when I came back to my lesson the following week, I'd actually written a C section for it. And this just completely blew my piano teacher's mind, and she said to me, Mum, I don't know what to do with him. It's certainly not kind of going in the direction that I want him to. He's better off just playing what he wants to play. So the piano lessons stopped. I only did them for about 18 months. But I still really enjoy playing the piano. I'm not very good at playing any instrument, to be absolutely honest. But I can kind of get by on lots of things. When I was about 13 years old, I went to a French exchange where I went to live with a French family for a couple of weeks, and then the French lad came to live with us for a couple of weeks. And as luck would have it, the French family, there were 2 brothers that had exchanges there, so there was another English lad who was in the same French family with me, and he brought a guitar with him. And Monsieur was really strict, and I liked to keep out of his way a lot of the time. And I spent a lot of the time playing guitar. It's the first time I'd really had my hands on a guitar. And after 2 weeks, I could more or less play a couple of chords. And Monsieur made me do a concert at the end of the 2 weeks before, just to prove that I'd not wasted my time in France. So I did my best with that. I think one of the songs that I learned was Fog on the Tyne by Lindisfarne. Something like that. I haven't played that for 50 years probably. So I kind of had my hand on the guitar, and I really quite liked it. Came home, there was no guitar in the house. Dad, I'm thinking about buying a guitar. Well, if you want a guitar, save up for one and buy it, he said. So it took me about 2 years to save up enough money to buy a decent guitar. a very, very starter guitar. So I learned a bit more about playing guitar. So there was these two things. There was kind of me kind of making tunes up on the piano and playing guitar as well. Then when I was 15, I did a summer job working in a factory in Hoyle, making parts, components for bed televisions. The guy that was opposite me, who was also in my year at school, was in the school band of my year. Every year at school had a different band, and he was in the school year. Towards the end of the summer, he suddenly said to me, Dave, you know a bit about music, don't you? Because I play piano and learning a bit of guitar. I said, yeah, mate. I said, and he said, do you want to join the band? Yeah, okay. And he said, we need a bass guitarist. Get as much money as you can together on Saturday, and after we've done our Saturday shift, we'll go into Leeds and we'll buy a bass guitar. I thought, oh, bass guitar. Never seen one of them. So anyway, on Saturday, the band members and I went on the bus into Leeds. I had £20 in my pocket, a lot of money. I bought a brand new bass guitar for £19.50, and it was an awful thing. In retrospect, I thought it was wonderful when I went home on the bus with it, but it was a really poor instrument, but it's all I could afford. And on the bus going home, the lads in the band said, oh, by the way, Dave, we've got a gig tonight and you're playing. What? So I, on the bus, on the way home from Leeds, I got my new £19.50 bass guitar out, and the two guitarists in the band started to teach me what this bass guitar was like, this bass guitar lark was like. And literally on the bus they were saying, well, to play this song, you put your finger there, and then you go, and then you put your finger there, and then you go, and then you put your finger there, and then you go, you put your finger there, and then you go, and then you there, and then you play open string, and then you put your finger there, and you go. And this was a popular song at the time called Sunshine of Your Love by Cream. So I could play that by the time I got home from Leeds. The other song that we learned, that I played that night, was Honky Tonk Woman by the Rolling Stones, because the bass only plays in the chorus on that, so I only had to learn half the song. And if you know rock and roll, it's in 12-bar blues format, and I knew my way 12-bar blues. That kind of thing. But I could play just the bass note, so. And I got through a gig that evening just with that. And I was never more terrified in my life. And I think it cured me of stage fright forever. So I was kind of quite grateful for that, because I got through the gig and I survived. I was still alive at the end of it, and a bit worse for wear, but I was still alive. So yeah, that's how I joined the band. And that band lasted for maybe 3 years, and we ended up kind of going all over the place, all over the country playing gigs. We did a week-long tour of South Wales. There were lots of rock clubs in those days, it was a great circuit. You could just go around, and on this tour of South Wales we stayed in tents, and one night woke up to find a sheep in the tent. So yeah, I mean, playing bands is just great fun. It's great fun. So 50 odd years later, I'm still playing bands. I currently play in 2 bands. I play in a band called the Welsh Tea Band, which does about 60 or 70 gigs a year, and I play with a band called the Roosters, which again does about 40 or 50 gigs a year. And I played this weekend, 2 gigs last weekend, and sadly the circuit it's pub circuits that I play, and the pub trade is so depressed at the moment that I don't think we played to more than 20 people for the whole weekend. In fact, I'm probably talking to more people than I played to this weekend here tonight. So thank you for that. Yeah, and in that 50 years that I've been playing in bands, I've been lucky enough to play on music that's been used in Hollywood films. I've played on music that's been on television regularly, and I've been to Abbey Road a couple of times, and it's just great experience. It's great fun. I've loved it.